I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for lesson 339 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're reading from the original edition here on December the 5th of 2022. I will receive whatever I request. No one desires pain, but he can think that pain is pleasure. No one would avoid his happiness, but he can think that joy is painful, threatening, and dangerous. Everyone will receive what he requests. Remember, it's not just words. As a matter of fact, the words don't even have to line up with what you're wanting. It's what you request. That's why we want to take these quiet times to be able to say, what is it that I'm really wanting? What do I desire? Because I will receive whatever I request. Everyone will receive what he requests. But he can be confused indeed about the things he wants, the state he would attain. What can he then request that he would want when he receives it? He has asked for what will frighten him and bring him suffering. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this, that we may spend this day in fearlessness, without confusing pain with joy or fear with love. I will receive whatever I request. And the prayer says, Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself, but hear your voice in everything I do, requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. I will receive whatever I request. Let's go take a look in our Manual for Teachers reading for today. And we're going to read, Is Reincarnation True, number 24. And depending on how long we take on that, we may do 25 also. Our psychic, Our psychic powers desirable. So, is reincarnation true? In the ultimate sense, reincarnation is impossible. There is no past nor future, and the idea of birth into a body has no meaning either once or many times. Reincarnation cannot then be true in any real sense. Our only question should be, is the concept helpful? And that depends, of course, on what it is used for. If it is used to strengthen the recognition of the eternal nature of life, it is helpful indeed. Is any other question about it really useful in lighting up the way? Like many other beliefs, it can be bitterly misused. At least such misuse offers preoccupation and perhaps pride in the past. At worst, it induces inertia in the present. In between, many kinds of folly are possible. 2. Reincarnation would not under any circumstances be the problem to be dealt with now. If it were responsible for some of the difficulties the individual faces now, his task would still be only to escape from them now. If he is laying the groundwork for a future life, he can still work out his salvation only now. Let's stay in the present. Don't worry about the past or the future. To some, there may be comfort in the concept, and if it heartens them, its value is self-evident. It is certain, however, that the way to salvation can be found by those who believe in reincarnation and by those who do not. The idea cannot therefore be regarded as essential to the curriculum. There is always some risk in seeing the present in terms of the past. There is always some good in any thought which strengthens the idea that life and the body are not the same. Paragraph 3. For our purposes, it would not be helpful to take any definite stand on reincarnation. A teacher of God should be as helpful to those who believe in it as to those who do not. If a definite stand on it were required of him, it would merely limit his usefulness as well as his own decision-making. Our course is not concerned with any concept that is not acceptable to anyone, regardless of his formal beliefs. His ego will be enough for him to cope with. His ego will be enough for him to cope with without adding other beliefs. And it is not part of wisdom to add sectarian controversies to his burdens. Nor would there be an advantage in his premature acceptance of the course merely because it advocates a long-held belief of his own. 4. It cannot be too strongly emphasized that this course aims at a complete reversal of thought. It cannot be too strongly emphasized that this course aims at a complete reversal of thought. When this is finally accomplished, issues such as the validity of reincarnation become meaningless. Until then, they are likely to be merely controversial. The teacher of God is therefore wise to step away from all such questions, for he has much to teach and learn apart from them. He should both learn and teach that theoretical issues but waste time, draining it away from its appointed purpose. If there are aspects to any concept or belief that will be helpful, he will be told about it. He will also be told how to use it. What more need he know? 5. Does this mean that the teacher of God should not believe in reincarnation himself or discuss it with others who do? The answer is certainly not. If he does believe in reincarnation, it would be a mistake for him to renounce the belief unless his internal teacher so advised. And that internal teacher are capital I and capital T for internal teacher. So speaking of God. And this is most unlikely. So let's read that again. If he does believe in reincarnation, it would be a mistake for him to renounce the belief unless his internal teacher so advised. And this is most unlikely. He might be advised that he is misusing the belief in some way which is detrimental to his pupil's advance or his own. Reinterpretation would then be recommended because it would be necessary. All that must be recognized, however, is that birth was not the beginning and death is not the end. Yet even this much is not required of the beginner. He need merely accept the idea that what he knows is not necessarily all that is learned, all that there is to learn. His journey has begun. All that must be recognized, however, is that birth was not the beginning and death is not the end. Yet even this much is not required of the beginner. He need merely accept the idea that what he knows is not necessarily all there is to learn. His journey has begun. The last paragraph, 6. The emphasis of this course always remains the same. It is at this moment that complete salvation is offered you, and it is at this moment that you can accept it. This is still your one responsibility. Atonement might be equated with total escape from the past and total lack of interest in the future. I love that. Atonement might be equated with total escape from the past and a total lack of interest in the future. Heaven is here. There is nowhere else. Heaven is now. There is no other time. No teaching that does not lead to this is of concern to God's teachers. All beliefs will point to this, if properly interpreted. In this sense, it can be said that their truth lies in their usefulness. All beliefs that lead to progress should be honored. This is the sole criterion this course requires. No more than this is necessary. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Let's go ahead and look at our psychic powers desirable, number 25 in the Manual for Teachers. The answer to this question is much like the preceding one. There are, of course, no unnatural powers, and it is obviously merely an appeal to magic to make up a power that does not exist. It is equally obvious, however, that each individual has many abilities of which he is unaware. As his awareness increases, he may well develop abilities that seem quite startling to him. Yet nothing he can do can compare even in the slightest with the glorious surprise of remembering who he is. Let all his learning and all his efforts be directed towards this one great final surprise, and he will not be content to be delayed by the little ones that may come to him on the way. Paragraph 2. Certainly there are many psychic powers that are clearly in line with this course. Communication is not limited to the small range of channels the world recognizes. If it were, there would be little point in trying to teach salvation. It would be impossible to do so. The limits the world places on communication are the chief barriers to direct experience of the Holy Spirit, whose presence is always there and whose voice is available but for the hearing. These limits are placed out of fear, for without them the walls that surround all the separate places of the world would fall at the holy sound of His voice. Let's look at that again. The limits the world places on communication are the chief barrier to direct experience of the Holy Spirit, whose presence is always there and whose voice is available but for the learning. These limits are placed out of fear, for without them the walls that surround all the separate places of the world would fall at the holy sound of His voice. Who transcends these limits in any way is merely becoming more natural. Who transcends these limits in any way is merely becoming more natural. He is doing nothing special, and there is no magic in his accomplishments. 3. The seemingly new abilities that may be gathered on the way can be very helpful. Given to the Holy Spirit and used under His direction, they are valuable teaching aids. To this, the question of how they arise is irrelevant. The only important consideration is how they are used. Taking them as ends in themselves, no matter how this is done, will delay progress. Nor does their value lie in proving anything. Achievements from the past, unusual attunement with the unseen, or special favors from God. God gives no special favors, and no one has any powers that are not available to everyone. Only by tricks of magic are special powers demonstrated. And he puts the word demonstrated in quotes. 4. Nothing that is genuine is used to deceive. The Holy Spirit is incapable of deception, and He can use only genuine abilities. What is used for magic is useless to Him, but what He uses cannot be used for magic. My book's kind of falling apart and the wind's making it hard for me to hold the pages, so give me just a minute here. It's about time for a new book, but I like to finish the book because I got all kinds of notes for this year, so next year I'll get a new book. Okay, where are we at now? Let's start in paragraph 4. Nothing that is genuine is used to deceive. The Holy Spirit is incapable of deception, and He can use only genuine abilities. What is used for magic is useless to Him, but what He uses cannot be used for magic. There is, however, a particular appeal in unusual abilities that can be curiously tempting. Here are strengths which the Holy Spirit wants and needs. Yet the ego sees in these same strengths an opportunity to glorify itself. Strengths turned to weakness. Strengths turned to weakness are tragedy indeed. Yet what is not given to the Holy Spirit must be given to weakness. For what is withheld from love is given to fear, and will be fearful in consequence. 5. Even those who no longer value the material things of the world may still be deceived by psychic powers. As investment has been withdrawn from the world's material gifts, as investment has been withdrawn from the world's material gifts, the ego has been seriously threatened. It may still be strong enough to rally under this new temptation to win back strength by guile. Many have not seen through the ego's defenses here, although they are not particularly subtle. Yet given the remaining wish to be deceived, deception is made easy. That's why we want to, our lesson today, I will receive whatever I request. That's why we want to see if there's any kind of ideas that we're wanting that really aren't in tune with what we really, really want. Yet given a remaining wish to be deceived, deception is made easy. Now the power is no longer a genuine ability and cannot be used dependably. It is almost inevitable that unless the individual changes his mind about his purpose, he will bolster its uncertainties with increasing deception. And the last paragraph, 6. Any ability that anyone develops has the potentiality for good. To this there is no exception. And the more unusual and unexpected the power, the greater its potential usefulness. Salvation has need of all abilities. For what the world would destroy, the Holy Spirit would restore. Psychic abilities have been used to call upon the devil, which merely means to strengthen the ego. Yet here is also a great channel of hope and healing in the Holy Spirit's service. Those who have developed psychic powers have simply let some of the limitations they laid upon their minds be lifted. And the word psychic is in quotes because really everything we're studying is psychic. But, we use the word psychic to mean something specific in this world. But remember, the only way to heaven is with the mind, with the psyche. And all healing lies in the mind or the psyche. So he uses it in quotes in this. Those who have developed psychic powers have simply let some of the limitations they laid upon their minds be lifted. It can be but greater limitations they lay upon themselves if they utilize their increased freedom for greater imprisonment. The Holy Spirit needs these gifts, and those who offer them to Him and Him alone go with Christ's gratitude upon their hearts and His holy sight not far behind. Okay, let's go take a look again at in our lesson today. I will receive whatever I request, and the associated reading is What is the Ego? But before we read it, let me tell you about another blueberry. And this is from ediblelandscaping.com, and it's the Draper Blueberry, Vaccinium coryumbosum cross. Draper has become a standout variety in mid and high chill climates. Draper has a compact habit, 4-foot height, ripens early in mid-season, is highly productive as a young plant, and has outstanding quality fruit. Draper has exceptionally firm berries and concentrates its ripening. It is extremely fast to hand pick because its berries are uniform at ripening. After only a few years of being available, Draper fruit has become a leading choice for growers. The sweet berries ripen mid-season, space 5 to 4 foot circles, and zone 5 through 8. So real good here where I'm at in the southern part of Missouri Ozarks, and good for way up north, all the way to zone 5. Okay, what is the ego? Under our lesson, I will receive whatever I request. What is the ego? The ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body, doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the will that sees the will of God as enemy and takes a form in which it is denied. The ego is the, in quotes, proof that strength is weak and love is fearful, life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. The ego is insane. In fear it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over God Himself. And in its terrible autonomy, it sees the will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams, its enemies who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The Son of God is ego-less. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in Him? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free, and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions, to the shrine of life itself, and peace will be restored forever to the holy minds which God created as His Son, His dwelling place, His joy, His love, completely His, completely one with Him. I will receive whatever I request. No one desires pain, but he can think that pain is pleasure, and then he'll desire what he thinks is pleasurable, but it's really pain. And no one would avoid his happiness, but he can think that joy is painful, threatening, and dangerous, and so he'll ask for what's painful, threatening, and dangerous rather than his joy. Everyone will receive what he requests. Doesn't matter the words, it's the request of the heart is what you're going to get. But he can be confused indeed about the things he wants, the state he would attain. What can he then request that he would want when he receives it? He has asked for what will frighten him and bring him suffering. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this, that we may spend this day in fearlessness, without confusing pain with joy or fear with love. So be sure to do your hourly remembrance so you can find out what it is you're really asking for throughout the day. And do your longer quiet times so that you can dive deep and really know what is it that your heart's requesting. And line it up with what makes you truly happy. God's will, your true will. Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself, but hear your voice in everything I do, requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. Okay, let us, well, wind's really blowing out. I don't know if you, hopefully it's not making the recording difficult for you to hear. I've got sticks laying on my pages so they don't blow away. My hands are getting a little chilly too. I will receive whatever I request. 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 I will receive whatever I request.